that it will blow apart the whole rotten structure that I've been talking about. This is not government of the people, by the people, for the people. Starmer represents government of the blob, by the blob, for the blob. And when it fails, it will be the blob that failed, not Britain. I think we should be talking about cancelling the Prime Minister, shouldn't we, really? This is the sort of thing, and I'm making a bit of a joke of it, but it's actually a very close line to being serious. This is the kind of thing that got people put in jail back in July.
Keir Starmer feels less like a genuine political leader and more like a meticulously rehearsed PowerPoint presentation, somehow granted human form, polished on the surface but hollow underneath. Watching him attempt to steer the UK often resembles watching someone tackle a complex challenge without fully grasping the fundamentals, yet projecting absolute confidence as if conviction alone can substitute for clarity or vision. There's a persistent flatness to his presence, a kind of managerial stiffness that drains the moment of urgency or inspiration. He performs the mechanics of leadership competently enough, ticking boxes and delivering lines. But there is no spark, no warmth, no animating sense of mission that makes people feel part of something larger. He occupies the role, yet rarely commands the room, and time after time he leaves audiences not angry or impressed, but simply underwhelmed.
I've never met Keir Starmer, I'm delighted to say, but we have, as they say, previous. At the time of my cancellation back in 2020, Starmer was the only person in public life who wanted poor little Darren Grimes and me to be charged under the Section 6 of the Public Order Act, which I think carries mandatory imprisonment and up to 6 years. But is the measure of the man, the measure of his nastiness, the measure of his desire for vengeance, the measure of his...
Then you have David Starkey, a historian known for razor-sharp analysis and unwavering intellectual discipline. Starkey didn't merely criticise Keir Starmer, he dismantled him methodically, layer by careful layer, until very little remained of the polished exterior. He challenged the widely accepted narrative of Starmer's supposed competence and argued that it rests on surprisingly fragile foundations. With measured composure and quiet authority, Starkey peeled back the branding to expose what he saw beneath it: shallow reasoning dressed up as seriousness, recycled soundbites presented as strategy, and a leadership approach that repackages the familiar while claiming novelty. There was no theatrical outrage, no raised voice for effect. Instead, it was a controlled, forensic unpicking, calm, clinical, and all the more devastating because of its precision.
Sentences of up to 6 years. Right. Now, even the Times, that was not very sympathetic, wrote a third leader saying, this is mad. One public figure supported that charge. Sir Keir Starmer,
of course,
ex-DPP. And this is where they are a real, genuine and...
Starmer's biggest flaw is his conviction that he is some kind of saviour of moderation, sent to soothe Britain's political turbulence, when in truth he embodies very little of substance. His leadership is marked by a lack of direction, courage and imagination, obsessively focused on projecting sensibility at the expense of standing for anything meaningful. There is no passion to ignite support, no boldness to challenge the status quo, and no coherent vision for where he intends to lead the country. His relentless drive to appear reasonable ends up producing policies that feel hollow, forgettable, and ultimately uninspiring, leaving voters with the sense that while he is present, he is not truly leading.
Keir Starmer. This constant fact that he harks on about being chief prosecutor. He's not, he's called Director of Public Prosecutions. But chief prosecutor, what does it make him sound like? It makes him sound like a figure out of Stalin's Russia. In Starmer's eyes, he is clearly of impeccable character. He is all...
Starkey didn't need theatrics or raised voices. He simply highlighted what many had already suspected. Starmer isn't truly leading. He's managing perceptions, smoothing over conflicts, and avoiding any risk at all costs. Every decision is filtered through layers of committees, carefully hedged language, and endless hesitation, leaving no room for spontaneity or conviction. Politics under Starmer feels utterly lifeless, like wading through a tedious, overlong workplace email that communicates nothing of substance yet still insists on your full attention, draining energy and leaving audiences aware that form has replaced vision.
Is a genuine emergency. There is a constitutional emergency. There is a political emergency. These things are manifestly malfunctioning. The proposals, the new Labour, the renewed Labour, actually it's just old new Labour proposals of Gordon Brown will make a bad situation even worse. They will destroy what little faith there is in politics and politicians. Yes, but with a very heavy heart. Yes to a referendum.
Starmer seems to believe that sidestepping strong positions makes him appear smarter and more electable. Yet you cannot inspire or mobilise people by being dull and invisible. He acts as if simply standing still will convince the public of his authority, but instead, it leaves voters uncertain, unsure whether he is deliberating, hesitating, or simply too timid to act. There is nothing in his approach that ignites confidence or excitement. Every move feels cautious to the point of lifelessness, reinforcing the perception of a leader more concerned with appearances than with purpose or vision.
Starmer's quite extraordinary. He's like kind of speak your weight machine. What are they? We have working people. We have dear me. I've heard them so often. My father is a toolmaker. All these phrases constantly recurring, almost as though it's a kind of computer. It's almost like I've used an old-fashioned phrase, a speak your weight machine. He's a kind of AI, but he's not. AI would do it very, very much better. Very much better, because Starmer is something different.
Starmer's constant flip-flopping only compounds the problem. One day he promises sweeping reforms. The next those commitments vanish behind vague, corporate-sounding language, as if he's preemptively apologising for choices he hasn't even made. The only thing he consistently delivers is inconsistency itself. Starkey recognised this immediately and made it clear he wasn't deceived. Whenever Starmer speaks, the energy drops. He doesn't connect or engage. He scrutinises, calculates, and weighs responses instead of listening. Place him in a normal social setting, and the room would almost instantly grow tense, the conversation stilted, as if his very presence forces awkwardness rather than interaction.
The problem is, and this is we're going back to Starmer and whatever, the left in particular just believe in a culture of words. The absurd dispute about Elon Musk and doing that, or rather that, which shows he's a fascist. Here is a man who has just spent £44 billion making sure that X has freedom of speech. I don't think freedom of speech was very high on Adolf Hitler's list, but it's the entire left is about words and gestures.
Remarkably, Starmer has even managed to make Jeremy Corbyn seem energetic in comparison. At least Corbyn appeared to stand for something, even if it sparked disagreement, while Starmer comes across as someone permanently trapped in a political training exercise where every policy is provisional and every response meticulously managed. Yet he still expects public support. Support for what exactly? His message often boils down to little more than "I'm not the alternative." He doesn't project the presence of a leader. Instead, He feels like a placeholder, someone occupying the role only until a real leader arrives.
Starmer, as the Baldwin biography makes clear, has fundamental and indeed fundamentalist beliefs. He is a believer in the supremacy of law. That doesn't actually mean the supremacy of law, it means the supremacy of lawyers, of people like him. He believes that basically human society should be constructed according to rules made by people like him, which are enforced by people like him, and prevent anybody else who is not like him from having a say in anything. And it's through the device of this strange thing called human rights law.
Starkey, a man rooted in rigorous thought and historical perspective, refused to let Starmer's carefully curated image go unchallenged, peeling back layer after layer to reveal emptiness beneath. Behind the scripted lines and polished statements lies someone who stands for little beyond avoiding offence. But avoiding offence is no substitute for leadership. Refusing to take a firm stand only leads to bending with every wind. One week Starmer speaks for workers, the next he reassures bankers. One moment he addresses climate responsibility, the next he sidesteps powerful interests. Starkey made it unmistakably clear that this is not strength, it is collapse masquerading as caution.
What I'm really struck by, much though I detest this government, the situation that it's finding itself in is actually starting to force it to think. It's doing it very reluctantly. The whole bias of the Labour Party is it is the welfare party. It pretends to be the party of work,
yes,
but in fact is the party of state.
Meanwhile, Starkey arrived armed with facts and historical perspective, highlighting that Starmer's most notable accomplishment seems to be erasing the memory that Labour once championed strong principles. He didn't launch an angry attack. Instead, he methodically dismantled Starmer with calm precision, using history as his compass and reminding viewers that Britain has known leaders with courage, conviction, and the fortitude to defend their beliefs, qualities that make Starmer appear entirely out of place. His constant fence-sitting leaves him mired on every major issue: Brexit, the economy, immigration, education, all unfolding in the same predictable cycle. First he makes a vague statement, next he waits to gauge reactions, then he clarifies with even less substance, after that he blames poor communication, and finally he offers an awkward smile and moves on, leaving nothing resolved.
It's exactly this. And instead, what Starmer has done is to dare to go back to fundamentals. But does he know what he's doing? Does he really, well, he does now, know what an extraordinary can of worms he's opened? I mean, part of the problem, isn't it, is Starmer is a man with absolutely no sensitivity to language. Starmer did not write this speech. Of course he didn't. Starmer doesn't write any of his speeches. He thinks and talks like an automaton. Somebody has put these words in his mouth. Does he?
By now, many Labour supporters no longer react with anger, but with weary disappointment, having hoped for leadership only to encounter hesitation and caution. Starmer's version of opposition politics comes across as weak and unconvincing, leaving even his political rivals astonished that this is the figure they are meant to fear. Whenever he appears in public, the meticulous preparation is unmistakable. Every word carefully measured, every pause calculated. Yet despite all that effort, his speeches fall flat, devoid of passion, connection, or urgency, conveying instead a sense of fatigue and an absence of belief in the very words he delivers.
So, Starmer and I have previous. How's he gone so badly wrong? Well, several people, I mean, if you think of Rosie Duffield's magnificent letter, she points out that this is a man who is now Prime Minister of the country who had no political experience. He is also not simply a lawyer. Everybody said to me, how on earth can this man be a QC? How can he be so, well, A, dumb, and B, how can he be so bad at public speaking? You know, from nasal wine. Well, I suppose he can't help that he comes from Reigate, but that's or indeed, my father was a tool maker too, but I did something about it, I suppose. But what has gone wrong with Starmer is that A, he's not very clever.
Starkey didn't need to raise his voice. He simply held up a mirror to Starmer, revealing him exactly as he is. A leader who questions every firm belief and whose chief political talent lies in dodging clear answers. His career appears constructed around being just interesting enough to remain visible, but never strong enough to challenge or upset anyone. Britain needs decisive leadership, not cautious comfort. Yet Starmer continues to speak of rebuilding trust, as if voters have forgotten the promises he abandoned on his path to Labour leadership. It's like asking for applause after a magic trick has been exposed. The response is not renewed faith, but mounting indifference.